to the world. Subscribe now to the Hot 97 YouTube channel. It's Ebro in the Morning with Laura Stiles and Rosenberg.
You got young kids, and they're seeing what's going on out here. Are you having those conversations in your house about Black Lives Matter, about police brutality, about racism and white supremacy? Or are you trying to avoid it? Maybe your kids are so young they've asked you questions and you didn't know how to respond. Or did you just sit them down in front of the Elmo video from Sesame Street? I had to talk with my 5-year-old about evil. About bad people and bad human beings. And people who want to cause harm.
How'd that go?
She seemed to understand that. Y'all remember, unfortunately, I've already had to deal with the reality that a kid spit in my daughter's face.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the kid still goes to the school. Matter of fact, I think we saw the kid yesterday, and the kid still speaks to her. She told me yesterday, I was like, you didn't speak to your friend. She was like, yeah, he spit in my face. I don't really like that.
She remembers that, because that was a while ago, right?
It was within the year, but, it was a traumatic. She didn't like it that it happened. She didn't know what to do. I had to talk to her about it because I was 5 years old the first time I got called the N-word. I was in kindergarten. The first time I beat someone up for calling me the N-word was in kindergarten.
And you knew what it meant. You knew the energy.
I'm not quite sure. I just knew he was calling me a name.
Right.
But after that, I had to, and parents find a way to articulate these things in terms that kids understand, which is, for Isso's, this event that took place, she knows that dad expects her to punch someone in the face the moment they make a move like that again. And yes, you might get in trouble, but that's known as good trouble.
Facts.
Unfortunately, because that's how people learn not to mess with you. We're learning that right now in society. We're watching people snatch down Christopher Columbus statues. They took the head off the one in Boston. People are defacing property. You got people peacefully protesting. You got people tearing their shit up. The message is getting across, though. Stop playing with us.
Right.
They pass laws quick, fast, in a hurry in New York State. We're going to have Andrea Stewart Cousins on later, who is the Senate Majority Leader in Albany. She's going to tell us the laws. And that's something else that we learned in having a conversation with her. Oftentimes, we hear police talk about something's been banned. Or we have a new policy. But unless there is a law enacted, that ban or that policy does not give the person or the family of the person who's getting killed by a police officer the right legal recourse, and us as the citizens the right legal recourse to charge that police officer with a crime, because they haven't broken a law. They just did something that's against the rules. You see the difference?
Yeah. So you're saying it's important to
pass the law. And if they won't pass the law, like they are in New York State, to ban chokeholds. There is a law against chokeholds now. And we'll talk to Andrea Stewart Cousins about that. So that means if someone dies because an officer is using a chokehold, that officer is going to be charged with a crime.
And who votes on these things?
Oh, your local politicians, representatives, state level senators.
Well, how do they get into office?
Cuomo to sign
Because you got to vote so that you could get the people in to pass these laws.
Got it, but man, all politicians are evil, man. They're all just the same.
They might
bro.
be, and they might be wings on the same bird if you don't hold them accountable.
Yeah, because listen, the only reason that Cuomo's changed his tune is because everyone's putting the pressure.
Exactly. It's not because they got their hearts in the right place. It's because they scared and they don't want no problem.
However, Shawnee, there are bad politicians who ain't changing because of pressure.
Yeah, well,
Like
the
for
pressure's
instance, they're calling Mitch McConnell chokehold Mitch right now because at the federal level, they're trying to pass a federal law, not just state, across the nation. The government of the United States says chokeholds against the law.
That's what's up.
Mitch McConnell is standing in the way. Guess what state he represents?
I wonder.
Kentucky. Guess what else happened in Kentucky? Breonna Taylor.
Wow.
So if you live in Kentucky
Leave
and
now.
you not voting, leave now. No, move.
You live in Kentucky and you black, run.
Nah, vote, man. Vote. Are you having conversations with your kids? That's what we was talking about.
Yeah.
Shawnee, are you?
Absolutely, man. I mean, one of the main conversations I have with my sons is to be vocal, right? So if something is bothering you or you see something, you have to be vocal about the things that are making you uncomfortable.
See something, say something.
Yeah, because, they try to silence our voice. Even this is what it is right now. People are now being loud because they didn't want to hear us a long time ago, and they want you to be quiet and protest peacefully, but then they don't do anything about it. So sometimes you have to be very vocal about the things that are making you upset. Like her being spit in the face. She's like, nah, I'm not with that. And I'm taking a stance. And it's important for them and anybody in life to find your voice, So I encourage that from them.
Kim, you had a conversation with your 13-year-old recently.
I did. Good morning, guys. I just want to say thank you for having these conversations on air. My daughter is 13. She goes to a predominantly white private school. It's just her and another black child in her grade. And I've had to have these conversations early on when Kaepernick started kneeling because, a lot of the children in her class are Trump supporters. And because of their parents. And, she came home in tears one day when they didn't understand why Kaepernick was kneeling. So we have to have these conversations early on. And as a black child, I tell her, you have to go harder than them. You have to show them that you're not just black. You're black and you're smart and you belong here. So it's conversations that we need to have with our children that are colored to just let them know that they're important and what other people say around them doesn't matter because it's going to carry on from school to work, right? They have to learn now so they know how to navigate later.
That's real. And if anybody gets fly, punch them in the eye.
Period.
That's it. Sometimes that's all they want and all they need to understand and to stay out the way.
It's true.
Now, something dawned on me in that conversation. I think it may be useful for some families out there who maybe have kids who are in environments where they are one of the few black kids. That was a lot of my time going to school. I was one of a few black kids at the school. And that was always a problem. And specifically when I was really young. Because, when you're in elementary school, you don't really want to be the outsider of the crowd. You don't want to be different. You don't have the courage to just be different. And as a black kid, you already know you're different. But then when they talk about slavery and you're the only black kid in the classroom and everybody turn and look at you, it's the worst feeling. Because everybody's looking at you and you're like, what?
Right.
Like, and you got to be equipped to deal with that feeling of being like, oh, wow, man, damn. Yeah, my people were slaves. And all of you white people are looking at me right now. A similar thing is happening to black folks right now during this Black Lives Matter movement. It's because now if you operate in a space where you're one of a few black folks, the white people are looking at you like, what are we supposed to do? How can we help? And on some days, you're feeling like, oh, dope. Let's have this convo. On other days, you want to go, yo, what you looking at? What would you do if it was your people?
Right.
Do that. Whatever you would do if you saw people like you being killed just because of how they look, what would you do? Stop asking stupid questions. Stop playing dumb. But that's happening right now in society. Remember, black folks are only 13% of the population. So, in many, many scenarios, black folks are going out and about, and you're the only black person. Or one of a few. And the whole world's rallying behind you, and in your regular life, just trying to go about your business, now white people are being extra polite. They're saying, excuse me and thank you all of a sudden. Remember when you used to hold the door open, you'd be like, why that white person just walk by like I'm supposed to hold the door for them? You don't know how to say thank you?
Right. Looking at you like you don't belong.
And everybody's posting and turning over their Instagram pages and, everybody wants to. And it's, like I said, on many days, it's appreciative and it's dope. On other days, sometimes you want to go, oh, now y'all want to come to the party. Now you want to pay attention. A couple years ago, Kaepernick was kneeling. None of y'all couldn't even stop watching effing football. You couldn't stop watching football. Think about that. Right. Now I'm supposed to sit with you in a meeting and talk to you about what you could have just stopped watching football. Mm-hmm. And maybe we would have made some moves. But now we got to sit and see George Floyd get strangled and murdered in the street. And now you want to have a convo. So is that what it takes? Murder? Because you could have just not watched football.
But Ebro, you think that was the line? Was not watching football?
It was a line.
It was a
line.
It was
a line that would have made some noise and got some people some attention. And it was all scrambled up and mishmashed and allowed to be so by many media outlets.
But that one was, I just felt that one was confusing in general.
It wasn't confusing.
Yes, it was. The entire league playing was black. The entire league playing was black.
Because they don't have support local. They don't have people that have their back. You think they didn't want
to play? You think they wanted to not?
No, of course they wanted to play. I was just saying they could have took a knee. They was afraid for their jobs.
But that's a different thing.
And if people would have stopped watching, they still would have got paid. And they still would have played. Putting it on the players is a cop-out. That's a cop-out. So now that somebody died in the street, now everybody want to have the convo. And as a black person walking around, all eyes are on you now. When really all eyes should be on the people who couldn't stop watching football and who couldn't stop what they were doing to actually take time out for people dying in the street. Think about that. It's 2020, bro. Y'all knew what the drill was. It was clear. Police brutality was the message. There was plenty of messages out there of Cap and everybody else saying this is what it is. And even Hove going, yo, we beyond kneeling. We're going to try something else. No, we're not, bro. No, we're not. Money ain't enough. And I was patient with all of it. But now we're here. And you got to talk to your babies about white supremacy, racism, slavery, KKK, and all of that. Your babies. You got soccer moms and simps. They got to talk about it. Everybody got to talk about it now. So the next time somebody comes across and says, yo, there's an effing problem. People are dying in the street because of how they look at the hands of people with a badge and a gun. Maybe y'all will listen.
By the way, people could have cared before that. Before there was even anything about football. People could have looked at American history.
Rosenberg, I was trying not to make this about you, bro.
No, I'm not making it about me either.
I'm just saying.
You asked the line?
There was a line. There was
there have been so many lines that people
But that was
ignored.
the most recent one that you couldn't take and a lot of other people couldn't take.
But there were so many other opportunities to open your eyes to what was going on.
But that was A1.
Yeah, it was.
I'm pointing to the most recent one, a clear one that the whole nation was looking at.
Yeah, and that was the biggest conversation. And for the life of me, they continue to make it about the flag, no matter how much times we explained, Cap explained, everyone explained. They switched the narrative.
100%.
They made it un-American when it was so intentional.
Darren, you had to talk to your nieces and nephews.
Yes, man. I just want to say thank you. Much love to everybody on the station. I respect what y'all doing. You're doing God's work right now. I have to talk to my nieces and nephews and my brother about how they have to operate in these times. They got to really know that they have to keep their head about them, keep their wits about them, and know that you seem as less than from the jump. So what you have to do in these times is just stay focused, keep your health. Health is wealth. Keep your health about you, and make sure you're not keeping up with no nonsense. Especially when you see these people, they dying for nothing. You dying for nothing. You don't have no weapon. You don't have nothing. But you dying in the street. So,
but you gotta stay focused.
Any way you moving, you gotta keep that energy. Keep that energy because it's sad right now. And I got to the point where I'm numb. Like I don't know how to think. I don't know how to move. Sometimes I just got to keep my mind on the straight path, keep tunnel vision. And I can see what you're saying about these people not caring. It hurts. It really hurts.
Thank you, Darren. Y'all, I'm going to post a video. CC Sabathia has a podcast. And he had a bunch of athletes on talking about how they're talking to their sons. And a few of them have sons who are turning 16. They're about to start driving.
Yeah.
And hearing these multi-million-dollar successful, world-renowned athletes talk about the reality that you still just a nigga though. Like you gotta behave a certain way. My son needs to cut his hair. Like I'm concerned about my son, the cool hairstyle. I don't want my son to wear the cool hairstyle because the cool hairstyle, a officer might think he's a certain type of person for the cool hairstyle.
Sure. If you're a celebrity's kid.
And you're driving your dad's car?
You're driving your dad's car in a neighborhood that's predominantly white.
How you afford this car, boy?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is the thing that is the perk of having parents with money. You get to drive your dad's nice car.
Listen, the first thing, before my dad even showed me how to drive, the first thing he did was interact with me and show me how to act when you get pulled over. I didn't even know how to drive yet. He's like, listen, you get pulled over, you turn these lights on, you put these windows down, you turn the music off.
Two hands on the steering wheel.
This is what my dad told me before I even knew how to drive. Like before, he was like, before I teach you how to drive, I'm going to teach you how to interact with the police when they pull you over.
Yo, my dad was the worst. My dad was like, don't look forward. Don't make eye contact. Don't put bass in your voice. He would do the exact opposite.
I was about to say, your dad said that?
He would do the exact opposite.
And if they get slick.
Extra bass, snatch you by your uniform, pull you in the car, beat you in the head, the whole thing.
All that.
Well, that's because your dad wanted to protect you.
Well, I mean,
He was
Ebro's
telling
dad
you,
wanted.
don't do what I do.
My dad's favorite line.
Do as I say, not what I do.
Do as I say, not as I do. Ashley, you work for a child care organization.
Yeah, so I work for a child care organization. We're set to open back up first week of July to host kids back for summer camp. And I have to really break it down to my CEOs and to the administrators who there's only one black administrator that we have to talk about why it's important to talk to our children about the current events and the trauma that they might be experiencing and how we have to train staff to be able to have conversations with our kids who's going to come to us with questions and come to us hurt and come to us mad. We have children from age 6 to 13, and I think if we ignore it, we're just part of the problem because they're with us for 8 hours of their day or 6 hours of their day.
And here goes the tough part. Here goes the tough part for your administrators. To have that conversation, they got to get with all the parents and make sure it's okay to have that conversation. And if some of the parents don't agree with y'all having a conversation, then the conversation doesn't happen. And then there's parents who aren't equipped to even have it at home. So they're ignoring it, but their kids are seeing it. They're hearing it in passing.
Yep.
If you have a kid that's older than 5, older than 4, they're absorbing the energy in the world right now. Whether they know it, whether you know it, they know it or not. They've walked past the TV, they've heard a radio, they've seen something.
Walked in a protest.
Seen a protest. What's going on out here? Why are people carrying signs? What's really going on? And as a parent, if you're not getting out in front of it and having the conversation so that they can understand, you're making a huge mistake because we are living through a moment in history right now. And I didn't even realize until a few minutes ago when I started having, when I really just was having that energetic feeling. how much stress I was under. Because a lot of things I pack away so that I could come in here and do this show every day.
You don't pack away feelings, Ebro.
Okay. All right. Y'all know.
Yeah.
I pack things away so we could gather around this morning, right? And we can get together and have some fun and some dialogue. So I pack my own pain away and try to engage with the squad and y'all listening, the family, the greater Ebro in the Morning family. But the truth is, the amount of times I've said in the last 2 weeks that I've been having this same conversation on the radio for my entire career, which is 30 years. When it was unpopular and the program directors would be like, why you want to talk to this community activist? Why you having this person on? This doesn't get ratings. Why are you playing this song? Navigating all of that in this game and tucking away how you actually feel about things because you know it's not popular. That's a thing. And I know there's people in media who feel this. What? You work at a newspaper, you work somewhere, and you're like, yo, this is what needs to be talked about. And They're telling you, ain't nobody watching that. Ain't nobody clicking on that story. Ain't nobody care about that. People don't care about this. And you're seeing the metrics, and you're realizing, wow, people really don't care about it. So if I care about it and nobody's there to support me, I'm going to lose my job.
Most media people are not even allowed to express themselves. Stick to the music. Stick to entertainment. That's it. We don't want to divide our audience. We don't want to risk ratings. That happens all the time.
Wasn't Charlemagne on with Stephen Colbert the other night? Yes. And saying that he didn't want to interview Rush Limbaugh? Mm-hmm. And he was told that they had to think about that. You were told you had to talk to an old racist white man who's about to die. It's your job. Your corporation told you that that's what you were supposed to do. Whoa. Now, what's about to come out, you're seeing all these people want to remove the term urban.
Oh my God. Now you want to talk about something you've been on for a long time. I mean, since I met you 9 years ago, if someone in a meeting mentions, well, you know what, urban, you will cut them off and be like, urban? And it's just now becoming a thing.
So ask yourself, when everybody's talking about black inclusion, you know how many black artists that are out there don't make hip hop or R&B? They might make pop sounding rock, they may make country, they may make blues, they may make... Does the radio station that plays that music play those black artists? Turn on Z100. How many black artists is on Z100? So black folks have been relegated to just hip hop and R&B. And so record labels, when they sign a black artist, they push them to make hip hop and R&B because they know country radio won't play it. That's why I went so hard for Lil Nas X. I went that hard specifically because I knew this is going to drive them crazy.
And it did. They wouldn't
the
even
biggest song last year. I went hard for that because I know artists like Gary Clark Jr., artists like Brittany Howard, who are young right now, out here making blues, rock, soul. They don't get no airplay, son. So now you want to remove the word urban. So the challenge next is going to be, hey, record labels, are you signing black artists that don't make hip hop and R&B? And are you making sure that they have a marketing budget so that they could go out and get airplay? And I dare a radio station to not play it. Because the battleground lines for black music have been drawn around hip hop and R&B. If you see anytime anybody try to come in that space and ain't moving right, you up out of here. Because what happened was we lost rock and roll. It was taken from us. Country was taken from us. They don't barely let us in pop music.
Nope.
Unless the hip hop record becomes the pop record. Or, for a better term, popular.
And unless you're one of those random artists they've drafted to the pop world, in which case then they're almost taken from our world. We never even see them.
And artists have been talking about the Tyler, the Creator, has spoke out about it. K. Michelle, she's like, all she wanted to do was a country record. And they were like,
K. Michelle country record gonna get done now. Watch,
she wanted a
independently.
country album. And they were like, stick to R&B.
And I say all of that to say that while we're having this conversation, look around at your media. Look around at your record labels and the artists that they play on the air. Everybody wants to be a part of this conversation. I bet you Z100 ain't even having this conversation on a regular basis.
You think?
And when I heard that they forced Charlamagne to talk to Rush Limbaugh, man, I heard y'all got something coming, Jack.
But do you actually believe that, though? You're taking that at face value?
Why would he make it up?
Because he got roasted for sitting down with Rush Limbaugh.
So you're saying Charlamagne's a liar?
Are you asking me that live on the radio?
Yes.
Yes, I believe he wanted to do that interview. I believe he thought that would be a great troll and people would talk about it. But I also would believe iHeart is bad enough to make him do it. The question is, how can I trust that? And Charlamagne has more power in that company right now, arguably, than Rush Limbaugh. Charlamagne's one of the most powerful voices in radio, period. I think he could tell them to go scratch if they want him to do something. Charlamagne could say, I'm not doing it. You know how bad they want to re-sign him right now? Stop. I'm sorry. I don't want to be that guy, but I don't believe that necessarily.
Listen, it's a reckoning coming, and people better pay attention. And going back to when I first went off a few minutes ago, you've had ample moments in history to pay attention. Police officers, you've had ample time to make changes on your own without the involvement of politicians and protests. But you didn't do it. And now we're here. Now we're here. So don't come to me and ask me what you should do. Ask yourself, what would I do if people who look like me were getting killed because they just look like me? Stop asking us, because we've already told you for generations. Top 97.